Welcome everybody to The Grit Life. Today we have another special guest. His name is Phil Traina. He is a real estate professional who's killing it not only in the state of Texas, but in other states as well. Luis, we always have this thing where we look for people that have this aspiration for greatness, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the type of stuff that we relate to, and we know that people like that, they have something special. It's called grit. And grit is passion and perseverance. And I know if you are aspiring for greatness, it's not going to be the easiest path. It's not going to always come handed to you. And you have to work really, really hard and also smart to get to where you're trying to go. So Phil is a guy that is definitely a living example of that. And so super grateful to have him on today and introducing Phil Traina with Traina Sales Texas.
Cool. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
We're going to have some fun today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely.
You know, we've worked together in the past, and one of the things I love about working with you is, one, there's a lot of work. Two, there is a lot of fun and excitement that goes into it. You know, like, you bring that energy, and that's a good quality. How do you have that quality? What's the secret sauce?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think you have to take it way back.
Okay. Bring us back.
Okay, so we're going back. We're taking it back, okay? So, so my grandmother, we'll start there.
Okay.
So she was, since 1969, she was a broker in California. Okay.
All right.
She's kind of my hero in that regard, right? So, because back in the 60s and 70s, you know, women weren't really looked upon as a breadwinner. She was a single mom at the time, 3 boys, ran her business like through the roof. I mean,
Talk about grit.
Yeah,
That's
You want to talk? If we could rise her from the dead and bring her back here, that would be the show you would really want. You know, super entertaining, outgoing. You know, just newer stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my role model. Okay. So, and you look at like my family life, like my mom and dad, it was very up and down, very volatile. They got divorced when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
So my dad was always, like, he was very wealthy at sometimes and very broke at sometimes. Like, the roller coaster was
real
insane, right? So growing up, that's all I saw. Right? I saw grandma, super successful. I saw roller coaster dad, divorced parents. My mom got remarried to another guy that was kind of the same way in sales. A lot of roller coaster with him.
Sales life, that's hard.
You know, growing up, I always was like, he always got screwed out of some commission, right? So part of me was like, okay, I saw all this stuff. It's like, I don't want to be that, right? And it also transfers into like with the family life with now, but we'll get back to that. But so I started real estate in like 2002 in California. So I've been licensed for almost 20 years now.
Dang. Wow.
And starting out as, I'm 41 now, I think.
Ooh.
So I'm old. So starting out as a 22-year-old kid in the Bay Area in real estate was an arduous task in and of itself. At the time, I was the youngest agent ever hired at this brokerage that I was at.
Okay.
They were new, up-and-coming brokerage, super fast-growing. Now they're one of the biggest in the country. Stayed there for a few years, learned a lot, and that's probably the biggest thing as far as getting into any business or trying to start any business is just become that master of that, right? Like, learn as much as you can. Be the expert, right?
About that, you know, I say like confidence comes from experiences, and there's no better way to get a confidence or a mastery of a skill or industry than to just go at 20 years old and just do.
Exactly.
You get in where you fit in, you try to do as much as you can, you take those learning steps forward by failing, you know, not making the mark every time.
It's loving the story. I mean, Phil, I'm hearing a lot of people in real estate that don't even make it. They don't even renew their license after the first 2 years, and that's it.
The failure rate is incredible. I mean, just because you're getting into a business where there's zero guarantee.
Yeah.
Right, and that's.
I was going to say, you said roller coaster, now here you are in a zero guarantee industry.
Exactly. It's like, let's just start at the bottom, it can only get better, right? So, I mean, but you sit there, and as a 20-year-old kid, I'm sitting here in in the town at the time, you could barely get in there for $1 million, and this was early 2000s. So today, that town is, you know, 2 million, 2.5 million to get something that's kind of crappy.
Wow.
You know, I mean, fixers are selling for 3, 4, 5, 6, $1 million over ask. I mean, crazy stuff.
Crazy.
So, you know, fast forward a little bit. I had some great years during that time. I had some really bad years. So I was just like following in the footsteps of Dad. You know, let's have another roller coaster in our life. And you know, at the time I got married, and I went to this class. There's this guy out of Canada, and the biggest thing I took away from that was you got to find your why. You got to define your why,
Sure.
right? You always hear that. It's like, why are you getting up in the morning? Why are you doing everything? So at that time, my why, no kids, newly married. I'm like, shit. All I want to do is
Money.
I need that. Yeah, I need that cash. But it's like I don't want to be the roller coaster anymore. Like that was my entire goal.
Got it.
And honestly, it took a couple years to even like to break that mindset and to get to the point where it's like we're gonna do this and it's gonna be awesome.
Fully committed.
Right?
Napoleon Hill has a book, Think and Grow Rich, and in the first law of success is having a definite purpose. He said you can't apply any of the other 16 laws until you have your definite purpose, which is your why, right?
Yeah.
So when people have that why, it makes so much more. You know, I was listening to another person, this lady who actually wrote the book called Grit. And she was talking about a lot of people in life, they want like a map with the actual footsteps you need to take to reach financial success or whatever. But really, life doesn't work like that. It's really more so like you find your why, you find a direction, you have a compass, and now you're just taking steps, following your compass and blazing your own trail.
Exactly.
And that's like a concurring theme.
Yeah.
Phil, I'm curious, like when you were saying that, I was like, it was looking like just like my dad, up and down, and then you went to this either seminar or workshop or what?
It was actually in my office.
Okay.
The guy came and was selling the workshop, right?
Okay.
So like he actually gave us some value, right?
Yeah.
I took away that thing and I went to the workshop. Obviously, it's like he gave me some awesome value.
Nice.
So let's go. And
then you started like what type of habits or what type of person you became in that moment when you heard that in order to just basically develop the consistency, the success, because with success you have to not be in the roller coaster, you have to have consistency, you have to maintain that consistency, and you have to continue grinding to make sure that it just
Doesn't
keeps
disappear.
pounding that success.
exactly. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is accountability, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're trying to do it by yourself, you're probably going to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, the odds are definitely against you, right?
Okay.
But if you surround yourself, you know, we talk about creating your A team, right? I use that terminology all the time.
Gotcha.
It's like we just need to surround ourselves with people that are going to lift us up, right? So there's a lot of situations in life. It's like as soon as you start getting a little bit of success, there's going to be those people that are going to try and beat you down. It's like, hey, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, so I'm going to like try and tarnish you.
Yeah,
right?
Haters.
Yeah. Hit the player, hit the game.
You got it.
Okay, but I mean, so we back up a little bit, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was one agent in my office. She was about $1 million+ a year producer back then. I was 23 years old, maybe at this time, 24.
That's the big leagues.
Yeah, I'm surrounding obviously this is like a high producing office, and a bunch of agents in there where, you know, I'm getting little pieces from them,
Yep.
right? And this one agent,
Breadcrumbs.
yeah, the one agent, I said, how did you get to where you're at right now? And she goes, you got to pay your dues, kid. Right?
What does that mean?
And I'm like,
you know, it's like,
I'm
thanks
like,
for
pay the
nothing.
dues, okay.
What was that?
Well, what-
Pay my dues. It's like, can I cut a check now and just get it over with? You know, like it was the point, but I didn't get it. And then my grandma, she'd be like, the light bulb will just go on one day, like, and she like it'll just light up and you'll get it.
Yeah.
Right. And some people it takes 6 months. Some people it takes their entire life,
10
and the light
years.
bulb
Yeah,
doesn't go
real
on.
talk.
You know, so. those two things have stuck with me for 20 years, you know. So finally the light bulb went on. I ended up, the real estate market, I did start doing really well.
Okay.
You know, especially in my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, then the financial crash happens.
Oh my God.
And I went from, we were, you know, just bought a house, cars, the whole thing. Life on paper looked amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Then the crash happened. And I went from like hot, like pie in the sky to like the lowest of lows.
Where were you? Was there a moment when things went to shit, or was it a gradual slope and then you look back and be like,
or it was like the situation in 2020 where like, boop.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. It was like the money just all of a sudden dried up, right? Like hardly anyone was buying or selling, and if they were selling, there was a lot of short sales and foreclosures happening at that time. So it was a weird situation, but thank God it only lasted 1 year. You know, we got out of that, and then it started creeping up again.
But within that year, when that happened, what did you feel? What was that like? Did you start drinking excessively? Were you addicted to?
No, I just had my first child. They really hit me hard in 2010.
Okay.
Right, 2009, 2010. So my wife was pregnant during this time. She worked, you know, we were lucky that she could work as much and make as much as she had to at the time, just because
things were roller coaster.
roller coaster.
You were the roller coaster of the.
Yeah, it was like we were doing great. We were just ramping up, and then boom, you know, it just crashed. So, but it only lasted a year.
Okay.
In my life, so which was.
Yeah, but that year was like, oh my God.
I mean, I've had similar moments, you know, like one of the big things I can relate to that is not wanting to be on this roller coaster of a ride. You know, growing up, I was in a creative industry, and I've seen a lot of starving artists, right? And that was like literally one of my biggest fears, is saying like, I want to do something, you know, creative. I want to make videos. I want to produce productions and stuff like that. But damn, I don't want to be broke.
Exactly.
And I remember back in 2012, 2013, when my wife had our first child, and we were living in a little 2-bedroom hood apartment. You know, we were sharing one car. Money was very inconsistent. I would shoot a music video 1 month and none the next. And it was just very, very tough. And the consistent, like that was like a mindset for me. It was like, I have to generate consistency. And that also took me specializing. And I've been on a process of just like really niching down and figuring out what my specialty is so that I can gain this sense of mastery, expertise. I can really start to separate myself and generate an expertise in something. So with that being said, when you went through that crash in 2010, what were you thinking? How were you going to make your comeback? Are you just going to be the I'll sell anything to anybody type of guy, or did you have a strategy to like niche down and specialize?
Well, funny thing you should say that.
Okay.
So like, you know this, but not everybody does that. So my other life is music.
Yeah.
Right. So been a guitar player, singer, songwriter. I'm just a guitar nerd. And you know, all senses of the word. But so my wife was like, you know, this is not good, right?
Yeah.
We need to figure out something. Like, can you figure out something?
We need to income.
Right. So like, all the stars aligned in this situation, and I started this company called the Gear Concierge. Right. So and it was word of mouth only, and I took it from like small artists, touring artists at the time, helping them build their guitar rigs, basically amps, guitars, whatever. Basically just more of a consultant role, right? And then it turned into different brands saying, hey, can you get this in front of so-and-so? And they would send me gear, and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna meet with so-and-so, so yeah, we can make this happen. So I'd, meet with so-and-so, and it would go, and it escalated, you know, into like the who's who in country music and rock and roll and whatever. So all these artists that I got to interact with that built this brand, and then it turned into, me helping these other companies build their brand, right? And this was all in like that first year, and then it exploded more. But I took that. It's like, okay, we're gonna like coach someone on how to build their brand and how to grow what they're doing, right?
Which is huge.
Which is huge. So then fast forward to, when did I move? 2015, I think is when we came out here, right? So I came out to Austin. My in-laws retired out here.
Yeah.
And I said, these are my people. Like, they're like, why didn't I come out here
Converted
earlier?
Austinite.
Right. So we decided, okay, we're going to sell our house. We're going to move. We know 2 people, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. It's like, we're going to come here and we're going to drop the Trainas right in the middle of mind you, I had my second kid by now. We're going to drop ourselves right here in the Austin metro area, and then I'm going to take that. I mean, I was busy in California at that time too, really busy. And so it was good. Like, everyone was trying to do kind of the same thing that I was doing, whether it was get out of the Bay Area to go like towards Sacramento, or get out of the Bay Area and go to another state, right? So I was like, okay, we're going to take all this stuff that I've been coaching these small boutique companies on, and I'm going to implement it for myself for once.
Yeah.
Right? California was always like, okay, we're like a little bit behind the 8 ball all the time, but we were steadily growing, but we didn't have the opportunity to really do it right. Okay. So I'm like, screw this, we're going to do it right? So fast forward another year, maybe, and I just started implementing my systems, right? Exactly how I needed them to be. It's like, okay.
What kind of systems did you implement?
Well, I mean, first of all, video content. Was my number one goal, because the world was shifting to video.
Totally.
And, before, it's like any agent was, taking some pictures of the house, maybe doing a little staging. Their video content was like, let's do a slideshow where the picture just like,
and call that a video.
And you zoom in.
That's not a real video.
Exactly. No, it's a virtual tour.
Yeah.
It's like, and then we got into like the 3D walking tour, kind of Matterport kind of stuff, which was all great, but no one was really doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and my friend who's the managing broker in the Coldwell Banker office in Los Gatos, Doug Evans, we'll give him a shout out.
Nice.
One of the greatest managers ever. Love
what
him.
Up, Doug?
Yeah, Dougie. Anyway, so he used to say that when he would sit down with sellers, he'd be like, look, you're these other agents, they're too cheap to sell your house. And so I adopted that.
Yeah.
And people go, well, why are they too cheap?
It's a mindset, baby.
It's like we're putting our money into your product. It's like, I'm going to spend money before I get paid to market this the way it needs to be marketed.
Yeah.
And no matter if it's a crappy market or a hot market like it is today, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do all these things and you promote them to the best of your ability, and throw, the video content is definitely my differentiating factor. And the way I do the video is a differentiating factor. But I can confidently sit down with any seller and say, no one's doing it like Traina Sells Texas.
That's right.
Nobody. And to the level that we're doing it.
It takes that. And what does that do? That has you can't do that type of thing if you don't have that belief in yourself.
Oh yeah, self-confidence is
capable.
Huge.
I see a vision of the future that is greater than what you see.
Oh yeah.
And that's, like even for me in my videos and when I sell products and stuff like that, services, I go into that seeing and believing more in other people than they do themselves.
Exactly.
And that's the energy that gets people excited, whether you're selling homes or marketing or solar. If you can bring that energy, man, anything is possible.
And what I can see there is that you start getting those systems in place out of a moment of distress, which is like 1 year of like
desperation.
Desperation.
Makes you get your shit together.
Out of all that bad stuff that was happening, it was creating something powerful that you came to Austin and like bang, you hit and run, right? Like really hard.
I have a question. Yeah. How important was moving to Austin to the journey as far as having like a blank slate to just create freely? Huge?
Like you can't even, I don't know that I can even quantify how huge that disconnect was.
Yeah.
Because you have if you're sitting there and you're in the same environment and you're getting inundated with the same things.
Yeah. You're getting a rut.
Yeah, you're getting hypnotized to that, right? It's like you got to cut that loose and you separate yourself and have creative thoughts.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think that's huge for anyone listening as
Yeah.
well. I think that even the way the brain works, you get conditioned.
Yeah.
And I think for as important as it is to meet the right people in your life, you have to look around and look at the habits, the people, the influences that are not positive, and not be afraid to just cut stuff off. Like the cutoff game has to be very strong.
Exactly.
Especially if you have this mindset of growth, building, because it's like, man, you sitting there for too long trying to put a circle peg in a square hole, you're just wasting your own time. And I have zero patience for me wasting my own time. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. The formula is simple. You need to put in the effort, learn what you're trying to learn, and don't give up until you milk it to what you want it for.
Exactly. And again, once you cut those, I mean, they're chains, man. That's basically what they are. It's once you cut those loose and you can fly, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. And then if you have that support system, whether it's your spouse or a family, huge. And sometimes family can be the biggest, ball and chain there is, but if you have some good family support, I mean, that's the best. But a lot of people don't have that, and I haven't always had that either. But with a quality spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, that tight knit group of friends that are going to lift you up, that really goes a long way.
Yeah. So no, it really does. Even for me in my journey, I remember again when things aren't consistent, I was very fortunate to have an amazing partner, my wife Alana, and just to have that support, to have somebody to be supportive, but then also to have somebody to see you very closely, like doing some dumbness, and then being able to just say it out loud, like, hey, you falling in some ruts and some chains again, and you have to oh shit, okay, it keeps you on your toes. I'm all about the grind. Keep it coming. Give me that critical feedback, because I know that, again, there's a saying, heard Jim Rohn say it on a motivational video today, but success isn't something you pursue, success is something that you become.
Exactly.
And so if that is the truth, if my success is not determined by external influences or forces, well, man, I have to spend as much time inwardly meditating, learning, thinking, practicing, applying new principles in my life that will help get me where I need to be.
Yeah. And also, if you don't define that success, if you don't have that end goal in mind, it's how do you know where you're going?
What was your definitive goal when you got here?
At first, my why, the original why, was get off the roller coaster.
Yes.
Okay. Right? It's we're tired of that. I have my wife and I at the time, right? And my dogs. Right? It's okay, we just need to support this lifestyle. As soon as you have a kid, life changes.
Totally.
All your goals, all your dreams.
Oh, you thought you had real goals? No. Now you have real goals.
Exactly. Throw another kid in the mix. It's okay, now I'm responsible for these humans, right? So that turned into my why. It's I want to give my kids a better life than what I had, because there was a lot of struggles going on in the underneath the surface in my family life growing up, and we could hit that in a different podcast. Right. but it's these humans. It's we need to raise. I always tell my kids, it's what's our job? What's my job as a parent? And my wife says, what's my job as a parent? And they go, to make us good humans. That's right. We want to raise good humans. Yes. Right. So that was my why, and it's I want to show by example to my children that hard work does pay off. We need to maintain, the mindset and the goal setting and all those types of things that will help get you to where you want to be. It's just retirement and success doesn't just happen. Totally. Because you want it to. Yeah. It's I don't care if you've been in the same job. I use my father-in-law as an example, because this is a perfect example. 20-year career Marine, right? Then he got out of the Marines and became probation officer. Okay. Retirement, 20-something years there too. Wow. So it's okay, he didn't go out and make crazy decisions. It's like he was like the slow and steady wins the race guy. But now it's like that dude's living comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like his mindset was, I got to get out of my podunk town in Illinois, which led him to the military, which led him to this, which led him to all these different things. But I mean, that's another. I mean, not being a business person, being a career person. Or not being an entrepreneur. Yeah, there's a different kind of discipline there.
Definitely.
As an entrepreneur would have. So there's multiple ways to get to your success and your end goal and your end of life plan, if you will. But it's like there's tons of different ways to get there, but you just need to define that, and that's the number one thing.
So when you moved to Austin, what was like your goal? Like I remember, forever my one goal was just $10K a month. If I can make $10K a month, boom, consistently, right?
Yeah.
So like when you got here, it doesn't a dollar amount, but when you got here, what was the goal? Like brand new to the industry, the real estate game, are you trying to get 10 houses, 1 house, 100 houses?
Well, funny you say that.
How did you approach it?
Well, like I said, remember I said I'm going to do this right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So drop into Austin, parachute in here. Who's this guy from California?
Kicking doors down.
Yeah. So I focused on the brand. Okay. So it's like, because even if I eventually, I'm going to be in this for a while because I love it so much.
You have to be passionate about it. Yeah.
But it's like, even when I'm done, like personally, I want to be able to carry that on. Whether it's someone, buys me out or my kids take over or something,
Legacy.
A legacy brand, right? It's like, so I did Traina Sells Texas. I'm like, if I'm going to be a TV show or something like that, what's a brand that can scale? That can scale and grow and last, right? So Traina Sells Texas happened, right? So we came up with my design guy, Matt, awesome design guy. Shout out to Matt.
Yeah.
And we came up with that logo, and I'm sure you could throw it up here somewhere, right? Yeah. And that was just like, everybody that saw that, they were like, that is Austin, Texas, right there. Like, you hit every single thing that is Austin, Texas, right? So I said, I want to come into Austin. I want to do big things. I want to do tons of business, and I'm going to start with the brand, right? And then, obviously you network, you meet people, they realize, hey, this guy came from, this area over here and he was successful here. He must know what he's doing here. And honestly, the markets are very similar. You have the tech centers that are going back and forth. You have the massive growth, all those things, the low inventory now, which is huge as far as the price increase year over year. But
what was one of your goals, though? You came here. What did you want to accomplish? Like, what level were you trying to reach?
Oh, I want to be number one in my office. So that was like my first thing.
And what did it take to do that?
I was number one in 2020.
No. But like, what numbers did it take when you got here? I want to be number one. Well, who was number one, and what were they doing as far as like numbers wise?
It was funny because you go to California, you're like, oh, if I do 10 or 15 deals a year, I'm killing it. There's so many agents. Here, it's like, okay, you got to do more than that because your price point's down. So my first goal was I need to hit at minimum in tech, because I'm working both markets, right? I'm like, I got to hit 15, 12, one a month was my first goal.
One a month.
We're going to hit one house a month. And I was pretty good with that the first year,
Why were you good with that? Was it just off of word of mouth?
Mostly referrals.
All of it? Okay.
Yeah, so all are warm leads or referrals.
Okay.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Now that's changed.
Yeah, now changed. Call.
Yeah, now my whole business model is people are seeing. They're seeing the videos. They're seeing the success. They're seeing the production. They're saying, okay, this guy's doing something. This guy's doing something
intriguing.
Different.
I want to be a part of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So now I'm getting more calls.
Which is the importance of building a digital brand. I mean, for years, my old saying for my ATX Video Pro thing was building a digital brand. I believe that there's no better investment, no matter what industry you're in, but to develop a digital version of your brand online so that people can get a glimpse of who you are, what you stand for, what experiences you have. So by the time they talk to you in real life, there's some respect on your name.
Exactly.
Phil, I've seen your videos. I know who you are, what you do, what you can possibly do for me. Now I come to you like wanting something from you instead of like a cold interaction. Be like, what do you want from me, Phil? You want to sell my house?
Exactly.
You know, it's like,
Exactly.
no, it breaks that whole barrier.
Yeah.
I love that concept.
Exactly. Well, I mean, now it's like I built this brand, but the brand is very genuine.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I mean, you know me. It's like everything that I do
Off camera is on camera.
is
You know,
me,
it's the saying.
you know? It's like, who's this California guy comes with this classic truck and he thinks he's whatever. It's like, no. It's like, this is me. Like, so it's when people see the content and then they meet me. It's like, I'll even tell them, it's like, hey, go check out my website, you know.
It's more of a confirmation.
If you haven't seen it already, it's like you'll get the idea of my personality, like real quick, right? So, I mean, that's been awesome. You know, that change, that's a game changer when that happens. I mean, because originally it's like you start off, you know, getting your buyers in there and people are buying, and then eventually those buyers will turn into sellers. But I kind of went with that digital aspect that we're talking about. And I grew my seller portfolio bigger first, which is, it's in this industry that doesn't happen. Like usually you're starting the industry, you got to stick with buyers, you got to go and, you know, sit at open houses, you know, do this thing. But I went the opposite way, which probably, you know, aided in my success a little bit, I would say. But I was going an avenue no one was really touching.
That blue ocean strategy.
Yeah, so it was a good mindset because I've been doing the same thing comfortably for so long. You know, you figure 15 plus years of doing the same thing, which having success, you know, you find what other people are successful with and you do those same things, you're probably going to be successful. But it's when you deviate a little bit and you find that niche that we're talking about that you can explode and you get the real success.
Nice.
Okay, so you started out with one house a month. You know, now here we are, a decade later. Obviously, things have worked out very well. You're kicking butt in both states. You just had a You have a billboard. He has a whole billboard.
Wow.
A whole billboard. Tall, one of them tall ones, not a little one.
It's like 48
it's
feet
a whole
wide
billboard.
by 18 feet tall or something.
And so, anyways, that's a major difference from coming in just like, I just want to do one house a month. Now here you are. You got the best videos in the real estate game. You got a billboard. You've got continuous flow of business. Okay, so that encapsulates. Brand is dialed in, right? The engine is lubricated and running. Now I have questions about this mindset. Me and Luis have been talking ever since we started this show about the biggest problem for me isn't necessarily selling a service, making a deal happen. Now the biggest problem for me is the consistency and not getting comfortable with success.
Yeah.
It's like, here I am hitting my numbers, doing what I want to be doing, but then it's like, you know, I'm not working as hard because I worked so hard for so long. Now I deserve a little break. Now I deserve some comfort. Now I don't have to wake up as early. Now I don't have to have those habits.
That's right.
And then you wake up one day and you're like, I'm not doing shit that I was doing before that got me to where I am now.
I was hungry back then.
I was hungry.
Exactly.
And now I'm not hungry.
Now I'm full. I need a nap.
So how are you fighting getting too comfortable?
Well, you constantly are changing your goals.
Okay.
That's I think that's probably the biggest thing. So it's like you start with this goal. It's like, okay, I've reached that goal.
Yep.
And the importance of goal setting is you need to like set an attainable goal.
Okay.
Totally.
Right? Because if you set a goal that's so pie in the sky that there's no way you're going to hit it, you're going to feel that sense of failure. It's like, I didn't do what I needed to do. You know.
Yeah, right.
And you need to bring back your goal a little bit. You know, just reel it in a hair to make you so you can attain those smaller goals.
Yeah.
Feel that success. Okay, I'm doing the right things. Then you're constantly can be
Tailoring
tweaking your journey, right? It's just like a pilot. It's like you're gonna go from New York to LA. It's like you're not going in a straight line. You know, they're constantly tweaking their course. You know, they got to go around some weather. They got to, there's some other planes coming in. They got to move around that. They got to change their elevation.
Yeah.
All these things are happening to get to the goal.
Yep.
Eventually, you're going to get to the goal, right? If you're doing all those little
stay consistent with it,
those little things. But yeah, changing your goals is huge.
So awareness to me sounds like a big part of that. I meet a lot of people and they're very unaware of even at a business level. I'll go in, people will pay me to help produce videos or marketing stuff, and I'll be like, okay, who are you? What do you do? What are we trying to accomplish? How are you trying to walk them through a process? And some of these questions people don't have answers to. And to me, that's a lack of self-awareness. And when you are not aware of who you are, what you're trying to do, and where you're trying to get, it makes the journey so much harder. And just awareness. How do you help yourself stay aware? Do you meditate at 5 a.m.? Do you have a hobby that you break away for?
Well, my wife will tell you I'm slightly impulsive.
Okay.
A little like
not Phil. No.
Sometimes like a little obsessive, and I think that's an attribute. It attributes to where I'm at now.
Sure.
I get all like laser focused on something, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have a saying right now. It's bullets, bourbon, Rolexes, and real estate. Right?
Baby.
You invest in those things, you're probably going to be all right now. Just those.
That spells Phil.
Yeah, because it's like we're dealing right now where they're just printing money, and there's going to be some crazy inflation.
Totally.
We're seeing it right now.
Yes.
Lumber prices are have tripled. It's like all these things that we're seeing in our everyday life. The price is just jacking up, right?
And we see what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
just printing money.
Exactly.
All this, yeah.
So it's like you need to find something tangible that you can put your money in that's going to,
what was that again?
Bourbon, bullets, Rolexes, and real estate.
Yeah.
If you look at any of those things.
We call it the t-shirt. Grit life, bourbon, bullets, and
yeah, look at any of those things. It's like the value in like the secondary markets that are coming up. It's insane. It's like the real estate market is just skyrocketed. I mean, bullets you could get for 20 cents are now $1.50.
Yeah.
It's like all these like Rolexes you could buy at a dealer for, $7-8 grand, or trading for 13, 15, 20 grand,
Wow.
in the secondary market. All these things, and they're tangible things.
Yeah. Wow.
So and it has to do with supply and demand.
Yep.
And the inflationary factor that's popping in.
Yeah. Exactly.
So why not invest in your business as well? If you're trying to grow something, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Money is going to go a long way right now.
Yeah.
Whereas in a few years, who knows where that dollar is really going to be?
Totally.
Exactly.
We might be on the Shibu.
So three
new coin.
Exactly.
So far, Phil, there's 3 things that I have learned from you. I mean, one of the things in your journey is that accountability. That's one thing. And then another one is that you mentioned something special, like the people you surround yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And be a goal setter to achieve them. But one thing now that you have achieved certain level of success and you basically are flying high, how you keep yourself accountable now? How you keep yourself surrounded by the people that's going to take you to the next level? Because you're already flying, so we're talking about continuing to stay in the course and not having to do this again, like you mentioned in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a step back into the music industry, right? So in the music industry, you're dealing with these pop stars and rock stars where you think they have no accountability. Mm-hmm. Remember when Justin Bieber was going off the rails? He had no one that was checking him, right? Like you always have to have someone in your life that can check you.
Sure.
That person's my wife.
Yeah.
That person's my wife.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, she'll throw down.
That's what we call self-awareness.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like I know her role right in my business life.
And you can also train those roles in a relationship. You have to train those roles. Like, babe, I need you to call. If you see it, call it. And then you build, so it's important.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, one of my biggest struggles right now is being too focused on those OCD situations.
Yeah.
It's like okay, I'm going to get this, and I was like, okay, we're going to run on this, and then it's taken me away from other things. So the time management stuff is probably my biggest struggle because I'm a big picture person, right? Yeah. So I have people in my life that are detail oriented.
Yes, helping paint that picture.
Exactly. So it's like they're doing the fine tuning on that stuff. So and I knew that right out of the gate. It's like you want someone that's going to push paperwork. That's not me.
Yes.
But you want someone that's going to get this done and do it like the greatest you've ever seen.
I'm your man.
Then I'm the guy that's going to do that, right? So, but back to accountability. my wife. Surround yourself with good people, like people that are their mindset is driven as well.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they don't have to be in the same industry or the same, you know, or even at the same level. But if they have the mindset, I mean, obviously you want to surround yourself with more successful people than yourself if you can at all possible.
Yeah.
But sometimes that doesn't always happen. You know, like your friend groups, you're not going to always be the low one on the totem pole in your friend groups or whatnot. But, you know, just finding those quality relationships with
very big,
focused, motivated people.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have a hard time myself finding those people. I find myself giving a lot of people chances, allowing them into, I mean, I'm not that special, right? But I'm just focused on what I know needs to be done. And so I'm very in much control of who I allow into my proximity. And I let some people in, they have good signs, they're talking the talk, and then we get close, and then
They're not walking the walk.
They're not walking the walk. When we get together, they don't want to talk about business. They don't want to talk about growing money. They don't want to talk about what books you read. And then I just find myself, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm realizing who people are, and I realize that, man, it's so important because we absorb the energies, right?
Exactly.
And if I have a energy sucker,
Yeah.
I can't afford no.
Yeah,
I'm fighting
exactly.
hard to protect my energy.
Exactly.
I can't have people just coming in. Hey, let me take this.
100%.
Shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are you going to give me today?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, we're going to take advantage of you or whatever. It's like, yeah, you got to, that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
That's been a big thing, and I do my self-awareness. I've experienced that I don't like that in other people, and so I always put a lot of focus on making sure that I'm not that person. Phil, what can you give me? Hey, Phil, how about hooking me up with something? Hey, Phil, Luis, give me something. Hook me up. I've never asked you to hook me up. Never asked you to give me anything for free.
No.
Because I don't want to be that person, but I'm giving value.
Exactly.
I'm giving like that's the mode that I'm in.
If you bring value to a situation, and you're especially in a situation of business, your money will automatically come.
100%.
Right. And that was another thing from that first seminar that I went to. Even in relationships, it's like if you're bringing value to your spouse, even if they're way over here and you're having problems,
they're gonna need you. They're gonna want you.
You keep bringing that value. Eventually, your guys are gonna meet, right?
Yeah.
Relationships, business is all about relationships anyway.
Totally.
So that I mean, we could just say relationships in general, and
Yeah,
that would pretty much nail everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that value proposition is huge.
Yeah.
And if you can, dial in that proposition and showcase that and say, here's what we're bringing to the table. It's like, I mean, my whole goal is if I'm sitting down with a seller, they're going to see that value and they're going to hire me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
so now it's up to you to shine that turd as polished as possible. So when they see it, they'll be like, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
I want that.
Like I'm almost to the point where it's like, why wouldn't you want that?
Exactly.
It's like why are you you're in a situation you want to sell your house, example, right? It's like, why wouldn't you want to take advantage to the fullest extent of this market?
Incredible marketing,
great
network, solid consistency of fast, high-priced sales.
Yeah, my goal is to get you as much money as possible. In turn, that's going to get me as much money as possible.
Yeah,
so it's like, here's my value proposition. Let's do some business, right? So, but you take that into every avenue of life.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not, but I've actually become less salesy in my experience.
And I think the reason that is because you put so much development into your offer and your brand that now you don't have to sell. Now you're just giving people an opportunity to take advantage of what you've created.
Exactly. Now it's exactly, you hit the nail on the head.
Exactly.
On that. I don't need to say anything else. We're done here. Wrap it up. But I mean, like now it's like people are calling me not like back in the day. I'd interview for the job to sell as selling someone's house, right?
Please hire me.
Yeah, it's like I'm begging for the business. Please, like I want to sell your house. Let's do this, right? And there's 3 or 4 other agents that are
doing the same
thing, right? Now it's like I'll get a call and people have either have a friend that's experienced it. They've seen the
other
stats,
experiences.
they've seen other people's experiences. They know that's what they want already before they're calling.
And that's the magic.
Dude,
that's the magic we're trying to create in this
the
digital
secret sauce.
space.
Yeah, the secret sauce of this whole thing. And I get a lot of new agents now that are like, just getting into the business, right? It's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do? And then it goes back to become the master of your business.
Yeah.
Right? Be the most educated that you can. A lot of these agents will go, and the biggest reason for failure is they're not educating themselves. They don't know what the hell this business is about. They go, I got my real estate license, I can sell houses.
Yeah.
Right? So you go, yeah, you can, but you need to learn the business.
Yeah.
So like go to a large company that has the training,
The
involved.
infrastructure.
Yeah, like have the support when you're not paying for the support. It's like you're gonna pay for the support in like your commission structure and whatnot, but it's like milk that. Take advantage of that.
Copy
Like,
those systems, look into it, figure it out.
Yeah, don't try and reinvent the wheel right out of the gate.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
But you get that. I mean, learn the contracts, learn the disclosures, learn the terminology, be able to explain to someone who knows zero about real estate every single thing that they're going to get into in layman's terms, right? It's like break it down to the ridiculous.
Yeah, break it down.
So and that's the biggest thing when you're dealing especially in my business of real estate. Even in the music industry, it's the same thing too. You break everything down to simplicity.
Yeah.
All right, this has been a great conversation.
Absolutely.
I mean, truly, I've really appreciated you showing up here, helping us get more insight on this process of grit. I mean, again, this is just something everybody deals with. If you're aspiring for greatness, you don't want to give up in that process because, I heard another saying as we go. Life starts you out in hell as you try to go to heaven, right? And if you give up, then you'll stay in hell. The only way you'll stay in hell is if you give up. But life is all about starting at the bottom, going through hell to get to the promised land. But if you give up in the meantime, you'll be stuck in hell and you'll just live your life there. And that's like a thing that none of us should do. None of us deserve that, right? So in parting terms, what could you say about grit, passion, perseverance? What would you say to the people listening? Just one piece of advice.
I just bring it back to your why. Figure out what's going to motivate you to really do it. Whatever that is. Like, take that leap of faith and do it. And get that why. Whether it's, money is not a why. Just because I want to gather up some money, that's not a good enough reason. You need to get deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's like, I read a book called QBQ, Question Behind the Question, right? So it's like, find out, and that's what we'll ask people. We'll ask a question, and then they'll give us an answer. And I go, that's not good enough answer. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's peel that onion back, right? Same thing with your why. Go deep with it.
Okay.
Get something that's super personal.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, and then share it with that one person that keeps you accountable at minimum.
Yeah.
And then they can bring that up. It's like, hey,
Remember you told me
the X, Y, and Z? How's that going?
I don't see you doing X, Y.
Yeah, exactly.
What about that Z?
but that helps. When you're down in the dumps, that's your focus. You can do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you once again, Phil Traina, Traina Sales Texas, best realtor in Texas and Cali.
The most fun for sure.
Most fun for sure. Check them out. We'll have links and everything.
You guys have a billboard. Don't forget.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put a picture up of that. That'll be
Definitely.
fun. Yeah.
All right. Cool, guys.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks.